Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Hulu. And real quick before we get into this, if you could do me a favor and hit that like button, because that helps this channel out so much. So for those of you not familiar with this channel, once a week I go searching through the popular streaming platforms and come up with 10 horror movies to recommend for you guys. And this week I came up with 10 horror movies on Hulu that I think you will enjoy. And with that, let's get to the list. Alright, kicking this list off is a movie called Run.
Will she be okay?
So Run is a film that went straight to Hulu, and it stars Sarah Paulson, who's most famously known for American Horror Story. But this is a very cool little thriller that really surprised me. I didn't see it when it first was released. I waited a while until really just a few weeks ago to check it out. And I'd heard some buzz that people had really liked it, but I was like, I don't know. I'm not a huge American Horror Story fan. I really like some of the seasons, but then some of them I'm like, eh. And I wasn't sure if this was just kind of another spin-off of American Horror Story, but it's definitely not. Sarah Paulson is awesome in this. She's great in that show too, so I'm not saying she's not, but she is just downright brilliant in this. And this movie in general just gave me chills. It really brought up a lot of stuff that I dealt with growing up with a lot of abuse and whatnot, and so it kind of hit home in a lot of ways. But it's basically about this young girl who has all these health problems. She's paralyzed and all this stuff, and her mom, who's played by Sarah Paulson, takes care of her. And then things start to unwind, and she starts to find out that maybe everything her mom is telling her isn't exactly true.
Of course I'm okay. I have you.
All I can say is that this is definitely a thriller and a nail-biter, and if you're in the mood for something like that, I highly recommend checking out Run.
You figured it out. You need me.
Next up is an old movie, but one that I have a soft spot for, and that is I Know What You Did Last Summer.
What's wrong with you? Watch out!
Oh my god.
You think he's dead?
Alright, I know this is basically a ripoff of Scream. Scream just basically did the same thing, started it all, and did it even better. But I still have a soft spot for I Know What You Did Last Summer. I was in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s when this movie came out. And I just have always loved it. And yes, I had a crush on Jennifer Love Hewitt, who didn't? But I'm just saying, in general, I think this is a fun little slasher, high school teen slasher. Yes, it's definitely grown a lot of cheese factor. It hasn't aged the best in a lot of ways. I literally just rewatched it for no reason at all, because I already seen it so many times I could easily talk about it on this. But I was just like, you know what? I wanted that nostalgia, that almost like comforting, warm horror blanket that I know you all have certain movies that are that for you. And this is definitely one of those for me.
Oh my god.
Someone knows.
I Know What You Did Last Summer? Ooh.
And so I had to throw it on this list just to give it a nod, and in case some of you didn't realize that it was on Hulu right now, because it's not like a highly promoted thing or anything.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
Anyway, I just have a soft spot for it. I absolutely love it, and so that's why it's on this list.
I know what you did last summer.
Alright, next up is the trashiest movie on the list, and that is Stephen King's Sleepwalkers.
Bad movie of the week.
Charles Brady is new in town,
You can actually talk to him?
Yeah, he's nice.
but nobody really knows him. Like his mother.
Alright, I know this is not a good movie, but that's why it's on this list, because this movie is so fucking bizarre, so out there, so cheesy, that it's a lot of damn fun. Yeah, don't watch this if you're someone that really likes, you know, really quality made horror movies that are actually scary, well written and all that. I mean, yeah, it's Stephen King, so the basic story is pretty interesting, but just the way the movie is executed.
But I know you're not who you say you are.
Behind the secret is a hunger.
There's a lot of really weird stuff in it that I don't want to give away, but basically Yeah, I don't even want to give it away. I just want you to go in if you've never seen it and just watch it cold, because there's so many weird, bizarre choices with costume design, story, and like plot. Yeah. It's just a very weird, very campy. It's just a gross movie in so many ways, and I think it will make you uncomfortable in at least one way or another. So I think if you're up for something like that, this is a fun one to check out.
Stephen King's Sleepwalkers.
All right, next up is 47 Meters Down.
It's gonna be the best vacation ever.
Seriously, you have to try.
I don't even know how to dive.
It's totally safe.
So, I had been hearing about this movie for years, and I'd seen bits and pieces here and there, but I had never just sat down and watched the whole thing, and I just recently did, and this is a chilling movie. It's really good. I'd say 99% of this movie I really enjoyed and I really, really liked. My only big problem with this movie is the very end. There's some choices that were made, some twists and stuff that were made that I'm not a huge fan of, but I don't know, maybe that's a personal preference. No matter what though, it's a very well made movie, a lot of fun. The sharks look great. The acting is solid in it. It is definitely a terrifying, absolutely terrifying scenario that is one of the more scary ones that, like personally to me, I could just imagine. The ocean has always scared me just because of so much unknown. What we don't know is there. And this movie just really grasps that and hangs on to that and really puts it up front. If you don't know what the movie's about, it's basically about these two sisters.
We would like to come back up now.
I'm bringing you back up.
Go to do cage diving with sharks, and things go sideways, and they basically get stuck in this cage 47 meters down. Anything else I can tell you about it, I would spoil things, so I'm not going to tell you anymore. But if you're someone that really enjoys thrillers, nail-biting movies that really have you on the edge of your seat the entire runtime, then this is one I think you should definitely check out.
47 meters down.
Next up, the 1981 version of My Bloody Valentine.
It's a bad time, this time of year. How many times is he gonna tell this story?
Oh, let him tell it. I love fairy tales.
This ain't no fairy tale, little girl.
So I've recommended this movie a few times on different lists because it really is one of my favorite early to mid 80s slasher horror movies that just never, for whatever reason, gets the buzz it deserves. I love the way the miner looks. I love the style. I love the acting. The overall look of it in general is just a lot of fun. It's actually a pretty well put together movie with a decent story for a slasher. It's funny because everyone loves Friday the 13th so much, and it's become this huge icon in horror. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Jason. I love Friday the 13th. But when you go way back to the early 80s, this is a better fucking slasher horror movie.
Right to the heart, huh?
Like, by a long shot. It's amazing to me that Friday the 13th got as big as it did, especially considering the first two movies were alright, but that wasn't really the Jason that we knew to grow and love. So, I don't know. I wasn't really alive. I mean, I was technically alive, but I was a baby. I don't remember that era, the early 80s, but I do know just from watching movies now that this is a superior slasher, and it really, to me, deserves to be put in that same pantheon as the original Halloween, as well as Black Christmas, which is another one that is extremely underrated. Anyway, I just highly recommend it, and if you are someone that for whatever reason hasn't checked it out, you definitely should. And even if you have, this is always great for a rewatch.
Take your pick. My Bloody Valentine.
Next up, we go with a fun one, and that is Beetlejuice.
Adam and Barbara are recently deceased. They were happy to haunt in peace until the new residents moved in.
Alright, so this isn't really a horror movie, but maybe it's a soft kind of getting you and your kids into watching stuff that's a little more spooky. It also is a great one that kind of ramps you up into the Halloween season, which I'm jonesing. I just went yesterday and bought my props. They're right back there, but you can't see them until I set up the new Halloween set in a couple weeks. But I'm just so excited about Halloween, and Beetlejuice is just one of those movies that I have fun with every time, no matter how many times I've seen it. Actually, I was able to go see it in theaters last summer when there was no new movies coming out, and a couple little tiny theaters were playing a few showings of some older movies, and it was just so much fun because I didn't get to see it when I was a kid when it was in theaters. So it was just a great time to get to finally, as an adult, go and see it in theaters. It's just such a fun movie that if you've never seen it for whatever reason and you have, 8 to 10 to 12-year-olds, I think they'll have a blast watching this with you. Any younger than that, they might get creeped out a little bit by it. You know your kids, so, it's up to you.
Attention, Kmart shoppers. I'm back. You want somebody out of the house? I want to get somebody out here.
It is just an absolute classic, and if you're just wanting something to smile and make you feel good, this is always a great choice. Next up is a little movie called Devil.
This is not good.
So this is a movie that I saw in theaters, like back when it came out. And I had totally forgot about this movie until I was skimming through Hulu and I came across it and I was like, holy shit, this is that movie. I love this movie. It's got a really creepy twist in it that just kind of slowly unfolds and not really in the way you're expecting. It just looks great, it's well acted, and yet it's this really small scenario where there's this group of people that are stuck in this elevator with each other. It's just like 5 people. And they slowly start to turn on each other. And it just slowly starts to turn into this really demented, supernatural, creepy kind of scenario thing that, yes, it's a slow burn, very dialogue driven, because like I said, it's all inside of this elevator with just these characters, but I think it's one that really pulls you in and never gets boring. It is just a great little movie that not enough people talk about, and definitely not enough people have even seen.
Turn on the lights!
Who are you?
All right, next up is a movie called Hollow Man.
If we're gonna move forward, this is the next logical step.
I'm ready for you.
Are you sure?
Positive. Here goes nothing.
So Hollow Man stars Kevin Bacon. And it's funny, when the new Invisible Man came out last year, my very first thought was, this looks a lot like Hollow Man. And even when I saw it, I was like, this is kind of similar to Hollow Man. Because it's funny, because it's more like Hollow Man than it is to the original Invisible Man. No matter what, this is just a really fun little intense thrill ride that I've always been a big fan of. It's basically about this guy who uses science and invents with a group of people a way to make things invisible. And of course, it goes to his head, things go awry, and craziness ensues.
So, what's it like being a ghost?
Ghosts are dead. I'm very much alive.
This isn't anything amazing, but at the time, it was a well-produced movie, well-acted, and has some really cool special effects for the time. Either way, if you're looking for something to not take too serious and just have a nice, fun little thrill ride with, this is a great one. All right, next up is the first one of my double feature weekend, and that is Digging Up the Marrow.
100 yards beneath the surface of the earth exists a metropolis that mirrors ours in very many respects. I call it the Marrow.
So Digging Up the Marrow is directed by Adam Green, and it's this funny meta situation where Adam Green, the real director who also created the films Hatchet, is playing himself in this movie, and he's approached by this guy who says monsters are real. And they just go down this crazy journey to try to figure it out. And it's done in just a very fun way. The greatest part about this movie is all the cameos from all these legends of horror. It's just a movie I'd never even heard about until recently, just coming across it, and I had so much fun with it. It's really a small budget, small kind of movie, but Like I said, it's got a really great cast of cameos in this.
You're a believer. What if this guy's conspiracy theories are all true?
I think for anyone who's a big fan of monster movies, horror movies, and stuff like that, the special effects are great. Just the acting is fun. The characters are fun. It's just a fun little journey kind of movie that I highly recommend.
I warned you, some of them were dangerous. Mr. Decker, just tell me the truth about one single thing.
They know we found him.
Stay away.
All right, next up is the last one on this list and the second one of my double feature weekend, and that is Dark Was the Night.
I think we might be dealing with something that's not easily explained.
You been out in the woods lately? Into the trees? All the animals just up and vanished.
So this was the biggest surprise for me this week because I had heard about this movie for a long time, but I had never checked it out. And I had so much fun with this movie. It's a creature feature, but it's done in a very different kind of way. It's more of a slow burn through a lot of it, but it does very much ramp up towards the end into this really awesome, wild, crazy, exciting ending. But this movie goes in so many directions where you're never quite sure what's real, what's not.
What if there's something wrong about these woods?
You really think there's a monster in the woods, Ty? Okay.
And what direction is up or down. It's just one of those kind of movies that is very dialogue driven, but it's very well acted. And it has enough spooks and enough creepy scenarios to make you never really bored. You're always invested in just having a good time with this.
Something lives in our woods. And it's looking for food. And it found us.
This is just one of those movies that made me wish I had listened to people that had recommended this. But now I have seen it and I'm so glad that I did because this is really a great little movie. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me today. Please leave your comments down below. Let me know if you've checked out any of these movies on this list or if you plan to. And also if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this at least 2 times every week. And I also want to give a massive, huge, enormous thank you to my patrons because you guys, your support seriously means so much to me. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember guys, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.